Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucha Underground Luchador Spotlight. I'm Ashton. I'm here with John, and today we are going to be talking about Texano. I believe this is episode 8. Is that correct, John?
That is correct. Yeah, this is episode 8 of Luchador Spotlight.
Well, what do you think about Texano, John?
Ashton, Tejano's interesting because I look at him and I look at how he carries himself and the kind of character. I think he could be a really solid Rudo within the organization, but seeing how he is as a Technico in the latter half of the season, I really wasn't that impressed. I think Tejano's interesting in that I think he fits a certain kind of niche role. He's not really that varied. He really doesn't have that much variance in what he can do, but I think what he can do, he's solid at, and that's what I'm kind of hoping to gear him towards when we fantasy book his second season here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as far as his first season goes, he came in a little bit later. I feel like he didn't show up until the teens. Is that about right, John?
That sounds right to me, yes.
Yeah. You know what? I want to make sure that was when he showed up. So I'm going to look through my notes here. Texano's first appearance was in episode 14.
Yeah. All right.
And actually, yeah, because episode 14 was when he came out to attack Alberto El Patron for the first time. So the reason that we're talking about Texano is because we were planning on talking about Patron, but Patron sold out and went to WWE, so we just kind of skipped over him, and we're going right to Texano. As far as his first season goes, he debuted in episode 14 by attacking El Patron. They started out with a little bit of a feud, and then we had the big trios tournament, and in that he started teaming up with the likes of Cage and King Cuerno in a team that we lovingly refer to as Metal Deer Solid. And they got to the finals. They did very well in the tournament. They got to the finals, but they did not win the finals because Daivari attacked Texano during the match, and it allowed Texano to get pinned by Killshot.
Yeah, so that's kind of the beginning of this whole feud between Daivari and Texano. That's what really set it all off.
Yeah.
And yeah, this whole team of Metal Gear Solid, unfortunately, was short-lived.
Yeah. And the big deal here, though, is that was really the spark that kind of started turning him towards the Technico side.
Yes, yes.
Because Daivari is way more of a Rudo than Texano. Texano, honestly, he's more of just a kind of a tweener. He just kind of rides the line. If a big time Technico comes out, he kind of acts more like a Rudo. If a big time Rudo comes around like Daivari, he kind of gets more of a Technico kind of shine. But really, I think that he can do both. I think he can do both fairly well. And his work with Daivari was decent. He showed really good fire, I think. And the kind of X factor that ended up showing up then was Big Rick.
Right, yes. Because, yeah, Big Rick would prove to isolate Texano, so he wasn't able to get his hands on Daivari quite as easily as he would have hoped, at least in the beginning of the rivalry.
Right. So then, as you kind of progress throughout this feud, we start to notice Texano talking about how he is Mexico. He is Mexicano. He is kind of the representative that Mexico deserves. And then we see that big backstage segment where Chavo Guerrero tells Blue Demon Jr. that Texano is a better representative for Mexico than Blue Demon. And that kind of sparks Blue Demon to go crazy. He attacks Texano. He ends up being his opponent for Ultima Lucha. And I believe he actually ended up beating him at Ultima Lucha thanks to Chavo and the crew.
Yes, so Texano's first Ultima Lucha appearance is one of a loss. So, yeah.
Now, I'm going to just come right out and say it, John. I didn't find anything exceptional as far as Texano goes from the first season, but I know I'm about to say something that's going to blow your mind. I see big things for him in season 2.
And you know what the funny thing is? Right as you were wrapping up Texano's first season, I know, and I stand by my personal opinion that I think he makes a better Rudo. However, if you want him, I think, to be a really hot Technico,
yeah,
maybe you kind of acknowledge Alberto's departure in a subtle way.
Yes,
you know?
And I would do that, and not only would I do that, but then I would send him on a mission to take out the crew.
Yes.
Including Chavo and Blue Demon.
I would agree with you, yeah. I would agree with you. I would have him come out, deliver a heartfelt promo again. Don't make it direct, and I think Lucha Underground's good at that because they demonstrated, ironically enough, with Alberto.
Yeah, they could
When
just
he
have him come
totally
out and say, I've been, I've been honoring Mexico for so many years, and people come and people go, and every now and then somebody will make it big in America and come back, but they always go back because the money speaks to them more than anything else. But I've always cared more about Mexico than the money, that
exactly.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? It fits perfectly too because one of his babyface aspects that Vampiro tried to get over, particularly in his feud with Daivari, was that Texano was always more blue collar, whereas
Yeah.
Daivari was more white collar.
Yep.
So him talking about not staying for the money and stuff that fits perfectly in line with the babyface portrayal.
Exactly. And if you ever do want to turn him heel again, have Cueto pay him off. If he proves that he can be bought, he's an instant heel.
Exactly, because he just sullied his principles.
Yep.
That said, Ashton, I'm going to be honest, and this is where people might get a little deflated, particularly any Texano fans. Whether he's a really big Rudo or a Technico, I can't really see him like in a scheme for Ultima Lucha 2 that sees him in another one-on-one match that year as he was in the inaugural Ultima Lucha. I think I'm just going to throw him in the Gift of the Gods mix and say that's what he does.
Yeah. Well, you know what though? I think that's a good fit for him though, because I really do think that he's going to get a shot at Mil Muertes' title at some point in season 2.
Right. Okay.
I don't think he's going to win it, but I definitely do think that he's going to be one of the 5 or 6 people that gets that opportunity. And I think he's probably going to have a strong showing in Aztec Warfare as well, which he wasn't even a member of in the first season.
I mean, you're talking about a guy in Texano that I understand why they didn't push him so aggressively. Like, well, they did stuff with him, but they didn't like really do a lot, in like any kind of world title picture or any championship picture in the first season because he had come from AAA, and I think they wanted to kind of integrate him into the Lucha Underground atmosphere. But
Well,
now that
most of the
he's,
guys came from AAA. The difference is Tejano started later.
exactly,
But
yeah.
now that we're into season 2, it feels more like he is really a part of the roster.
And I think what helps too, if I could say this, and I think this is what I was trying to articulate a few moments ago. I think now he's more removed from his recent AAA World Title run, so
Yeah.
now I think we can really be ready to do things with him in Lucha Underground. So I agree with you. I think he's going to become more of a fixture. I could even see him babyface or heel, just giving promos that are more oriented towards, okay, I came to Lucha Underground to be the best. Playtime's over. I want that championship. And
Yep.
he really just starts pursuing it aggressively. So I don't think. I mean, I agree with you. I think he will get a crack at Mil Muertes. Maybe he'll win a number one contendership match, or maybe he'll just be on a roll and Cueto has an office segment with him and that whole spiel. But I think at Ultima Lucha he'll stay in that hunt, but through Gift of the Gods, and the rest I guess remains to be seen. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I can dig that. I think that the biggest thing for him is that I think that they should definitely capitalize on the Alberto stuff, use that as kind of an emotional storyline driver to kind of really make him come off as the hero in the eyes of the fans. And I don't think you even really need to do that much to do it because of how well they positioned him at the end of season 1 to be able to take advantage of that.
Exactly. Completely agree with you.
Yeah. So as far as just kind of like an end game, I agree with you, man. I think he should be in the Gift of the Gods picture by the end of the season. I think he should win an Aztec medallion. I think he should be in that 7-way unification match. I don't know if I would actually give him the title, but I might. Just depending on how well the crowd reacts to him. By then, he might be the most over Technico in the entire company. You
And
never know.
yeah, you're absolutely, you really do have to do, because the funny thing about our fantasy booking is we're doing it on the basis of what we saw in the first season.
Yeah,
Second season, the landscape could change dramatically. Because right now, I'll tell you, based solely on what you and I have seen, I'm still saying I think Son of Havoc is the best candidate for Gift of the Gods. But you're right. If they play their cards right with Tejano and they really groom him for that bigger spot within Lucha Underground, he could absolutely be the Gift of the Gods champion. I could buy it, no problem. So yeah, I'm
exactly.
glad you and I are on the same page there.
Yep, absolutely. So now I feel like we should talk a little bit more about his character, but I also feel like there really isn't a lot to talk about because really just in season 1, character wise, he was pretty much just, hey guys, I'm a big deal in AAA and I really like Mexico, so you should cheer for me.
Yeah, not really much depth. Again, I think Vampiro and I got to
I
credit
think
him for
that in
this.
season 2, I want to know why. I just want some kind of some more depth, I think, to his character than just, hey guys, I'm from Mexico, be happy.
Well, I think Alberto's departure again can really help with that. Like he talks about this relationship he has with Mexico and the Mexican people, with the way that Lucha Underground does video packages and does like these cinematic segments. Let's explore that a little bit. Like I'm not necessarily saying I want an origin story of Tejano, but I want to see where that
Well, we
connection
got
comes
we
from.
got a bit of an origin story with a bunch of guys, with like Phoenix and Pentagon and
Yeah.
Drago and Cage and Puma. So I mean, if they want to give us one of those kind of video packages for Tejano, I would not complain at all.
Oh, it certainly wouldn't hurt. Certainly wouldn't hurt. I just think, Lucha Underground, and see, I mean this as a compliment, no matter how backhanded it may sound. They're better at creating characters than just doing like a by the numbers like build up like, oh, he's blue collar, oh, he's this, oh, he's that. Lucha Underground has an amazing ability to create legitimate characters with the
Right.
way they do videos,
Yeah.
with the way they present people. They can do that for Tejano, and that's the thing. That's why I'm glad I was able to get the words out that I'm so glad he's so removed now from his AAA championship reign, because now in the second season, everything feels fresh, Ash, especially because they're going to be airing the episodes in January. Everything's going to feel so fresh. They have a chance here to reorient Tejano as really one of their own and kind of play with him a little bit and see how they can get him to get that connection. So
Yep.
I am excited for him. I just hope they seize the opportunity, because I do see something there. I just wasn't that thrilled with his babyface run in the latter half of the season. So
The really scary thing too, John, is that they might just decide to put the title back on him now.
yeah, and that's true too. I mean, AAA is certainly left in one hell of a predicament. I've even been hearing. I don't know if you've heard the same, but I read something that I think Alberto's even protesting losing at AAA shows anytime soon. But of course, it's custom. You've got to drop the belt on your way out. So I know AAA's in kind of a pickle. They may defer back to Tejano because of that history.
Well, I
I
mean, you
don't
say
know.
losing. I don't think he's even going to defend the title. I don't think he's going to finish his dates with them.
See, and I thought he was. So I guess you and I are hearing different things, because I
I
thought he
heard.
was.
I mean, the first night when he first signed, I was kind of under the impression that he was going to, but ever since then, every report that I've heard was that he is WWE exclusive. He's not going back. They're going to have to figure out a way to get the title on someone else.
Wow, like the whole thing reeks, man. I don't want to go on another Alberto rant, but that kind of stuff really ticks me off.
Yeah.
But I don't know where that leaves Tejano. But if Lucha Underground can have a more breathing room with him, and again, like that's the great thing about this series, both a good thing and I guess a bad thing depending on how you look at it. We do the analysis of these guys, and yet we don't know where they're going to end up. For example, I don't know if you read this, Ashton, but I did read that Big Rick isn't going to be returning to the promotion. So we had all these ideas, but he's not even going to be a part of season two. I don't know where Tejano fits, if he's going to be a part of season two or not. I would hope he is, because you and I clearly see a lot of potential there.
Right.
But I guess that's up to the powers that be. So we'll see what
Yeah, I
happens.
think as far as just kind of placement on the card, I think that Tejano, I might put him above just about everyone else that we've reviewed so far, that we've talked about so far.
Yeah,
Save
I
for,
would.
I
Yeah.
mean, save for Johnny Mundo because it's Johnny Mundo, but still.
Exactly. But no, I mean, I agree, man. I think again, Tejano, given his value at AAA, having that ridiculously long AAA title reign, and then the crossover into Lucha Underground, where he did good things, nothing really that like wowed me or really got me to pop. But I think the second season could change all that.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, a little bit of a quicker episode this week, a little bit under 15 minutes. But hey, what do you guys think of Tejano? What do you think is going to happen with him in season two? Do you think that the writers of Lucha Underground should take advantage of the El Patron situation and really kind of take advantage of that with Tejano and his character and kind of take him in a direction where he kind of gets to be the hero in all of this situation? I'm curious to know what people think of that. We will see you all for our next episode of Lucha Spotlight on Saturday. I'm thinking, how about Davari, John? How does that sound?
That sounds good to me, especially since, again, with the news that Big Rick isn't going to be a part of season two, that leaves an interesting opening for Davari. So that could be a lot of fun.
Well, Davari and Big Rick were pretty much done and over with by the end of season one anyway.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. So we'll see.
We'll see what we have to say about Davari on Saturday. Until then, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you then.